Greetings, I am back, everyone. I am Dr. Hassim Ayali Kambui, and this current video is a continuation of part two of a previous discussion previous discussion, I should say, rather, surrounding race and intelligence. For the experience of learning about race and intelligence, in part one of my video, I defined race. The definition provided was for pedagogical purposes that facilitate learning. And in part, based on a prior conversation between uh, Dr. Kevin Washington, aka Moada Kyrie, past president of the Association of African Psychologists, and his observations of what he expressed as the perceived tendency for us to argue from the same viewpoint as others. That perception applies here in the circumstance of race, resulting in us not adding anything new to the discourse. We argue on two sides of the same coin, such as alt left or alt right. And if there is no other alternatives, ultimately, this makes it difficult to focus on what is right in front of us regarding the notion of race and who we are. In effect, the teaching and learning method of delivery allows for ongoing movement and discussion on the subject. You can think about it in this way. Think back to a journal, newspaper, magazine, book, something you saw online, or anything else that you have come across of and read and reread. Often, given what we read over and over again, we can gain a new understanding for ideas, such as through the words. In a similar fashion, here, going into the definition of race, uh, going into the definition of race is attached to words. And those words can therefore allow us to put other ideas together. And so from this, I came across an article a couple of days ago by Dr. Joseph Graves. The article is entitled "Race is Not Equal to DNA." I encourage you to go out and read the article. Uh, the article is short, it's about 3 to 5 pages. The article speaks to and can further enhance clarity on the notion of race and our logical mind as something we can control, i.e., in intelligence. Therefore, considering the article by Dr. Graves, he offers a symbolic um, relationship between the elephant in the room and race. And what is meant by this is that we all see the elephant in the room as it relates to race. However, he describes where some individuals see the elephant and talk about the trunk, while others see the head, the foot, or or some other parts and talk about those, not understanding how those different parts or those different aspects are linked to the whole, the elephant. Uh, and to get us to see what we are missing, he goes on to include and discuss the definitions of race socially and biologically, and other ideas surrounding race, such as genetics and ancestry. So, after providing that symbolic description and going over those definitions, he concludes race is socially constructed. However, he does not deny his eyes and further uh, provides a call to action. Whereas he expresses there has been no new methods drawing evidence to the nature of human group life, or what we would call human variation. And he points out this concern being rooted in the history of the US and the issue of racism. So the article points out what is to be solved in general terms. Dr. Graves, as well as others, we realize something else is needed, such as in this case, methods to approach the study of race, relevant and appropriate to the discussion. It makes me now go back to what I shared in part one of my video, and using the example provided by Dr. or the example that I provided of Dr. Sheikh Anta Diop. Yes, many of you may know him for his approach and his particular application of research to melanin theory. However, I want you to further consider the examples towards the understanding of selecting tools, theories, and methods needed that come together through, for example, the definition of race, science, and the scientific method of learning for looking at aspects of race and everything, as Dr. Graves voiced in his article, in its totality for our decision making purposes. Hence, what is going on with what we see pertaining to race? How do we, deny our own eyes? We have to be honest with ourselves and our abilities, and grow beyond the story of race that includes the history, so to speak, or includes the primary source of history of racism and organizes many ideas that we see about race. We do not need to place any more efforts into teaching and learning about race and racism, race and anti racism, and race and white supremacy. Those ideas are, they're challenged, and we stop restricting ourselves to those ideas, which I hear as talking points over and over again. Those who continue to fill our ears with those ideas should be called out and identified um, as they, continue to guide us and are a threat to our intellectual mind. Sam Cooke once said, right, or his famous song uh, during the civil rights era, a change is going to come. Right? Well, a change has occurred in which race informs the working world. Um, Race has become increasingly essential to understand, as seen here where I'm at in the state of Florida, and the recent legislative action of the Stop Woke Act, um, the Florida law of the Stop the Wrongs to Our Kids, um, and Employees Act became law in and around the summer of 2022, and it sort of guides the workplace of K to 12 and university education and how the topic of race is discussed. The mandate is felt from classroom to classroom with the intention of instruction and producing psychological well-being, mentioning race, and and otherwise looking at life then through racism. Seeing this, and calling into question race related to teaching and learning, therefore, what are we doing here? Um, how do we play out those, or how do we play out the relationship of race to education? Having raised those questions, let's stop here. I will pick off where I left off in a subsequent video. As I shared earlier, when I started to share my thoughts about the ideas of race and education, I was thinking about producing several videos, and so it looks like that is going to occur. In any event, thank you for listening to this second video, and look out for the next video. Thank you.